Welcome back, Netrunner geeks. That's right. You geeks out there are really good at this game. So much so that you passed the previous Netrunner exam with flying colors. On the whole, all of you did very well. A lot of your answers are correct, or at least I think they are. So let's go through them in this video. The first question involves lots of obscure cards which almost never see play, yet a lot of you managed to get them. I was very surprised that people actually remember the card rework. And yes, apparently Mamba's the only Psi AP ice in the game. Pretty interesting considering that both Psi and AP are specialties of Jinteki. I was also hoping someone would fall into the trap of calling number 2 Resistor, because it also has a Trace 4 if successful in the run. That is why I was required to add the fact that it had 2 subroutines, because that is what differentiates Ouroboros from Resistor. Questions 5 to 7, not much to say except that if you actually got question 6 correct, the satellite uplink question, you are already doing better than me, because until I created this quiz, I didn't actually notice that it was Leela Patel that was up in space trying to connect to satellites. And yes, it is also very interesting that each faction has exactly one of each 4 influence, 3 cost resource. It's a pretty interesting symmetry going on there, although all 3 cards do very different things, and should I say they are all very niche cards. Now the more tricky questions. Question 8. You cannot take the 2 credits from security testing during a feint run because feint prevents access. Security testing, as you may well know, is an access replacement effect, and if you cannot access in the first place, as is the case with a feint run, you cannot trigger security testing. Question 9. Cyber Cipher reads, it can only be used during a run on the chosen server. So the answer to 9 is yes, because when you're accessing cards from R&D, you are still in the R&D run, and therefore you can still use Sci. If Cyber Cipher were to read, you may only use Cyber Cipher only during encounters with ice on the chosen server, then it wouldn't work. Sorry, ice protecting the chosen server. This also implies that if you encounter, say, a Kitsune during an R&D run, and the corp chooses to show Archangel from hand and force the access, you cannot use a Sci on HQ to break the Archangel, even though you are making the access from HQ. You are making an R&D run, and you're making access on HQ, so you can only use a Sci director at R&D to break that Archangel. It's weird, but that's the way it works. Question 10. This one's also a very tricky one. I've got a lot of answers. Basically, the answers in the comment section will all split down the middle, right down the middle. 13, 14, 15. You name it, there are guesses for each one of them. And they all make good sense. But looking at the card text of both Reina Roja and Executive Bootcamp, you can see that they're worded pretty similarly. So in either case, the answer would be 14 credits, because if one were to modify the rest cost of the ice, the other would as well, and if one doesn't, the other one wouldn't either, because they're both worded pretty similarly. The question is, do both trigger or do neither trigger? And I believe the answer is neither. For the simple fact that these triggers only apply during the duration of which the corp is rezzing the card. So basically, the cost of a curtain wall when rezzed by Blue Sun goes up to 15 if Reina Roja triggers, and the moment it's done rezzing, it goes back down to 14. The same can be said for Executive Bootcamp. It goes down to 13 during the duration with which you use to rezz it with Executive Bootcamp before restoring to 14 once you're done rezzing with it. So when you bounce it at the end of the day, its rest cost is still 14 as printed on the card, because even though both triggers fire, once they are done resolving their trigger, they will no longer apply to the ice. This is for the sake of simplicity and has been confirmed by Lucas on Twitter. If they were to apply till the end of the turn, or the end of the click, or whatever it is, you would require res cost markers, +1 res cost and -1 res cost markers to be placed on every single piece of ice in the game, which is really annoying. So to make things simple, res cost modifiers only apply during the duration of which the corp is raising the ice. This does not apply to constant permanent res cost modifier effects such as Breaker Bay Grid and Xanadu. So that's something completely different altogether. And finally, for question 11, that one's pretty straightforward. If you have access to the card text, unlike Celebrity Gift, it's not limited to 5 cards. So yes, you can gain more than 10 credits. And yes, it's pretty good in Cerebral Imaging. So that's it for the exam. Once again, congratulations to everyone who answered. You all did a stunning job. Hopefully we'll get more of these tests in the future, if you like it. In the meantime, thanks for watching Happy Net Running. Goodbye.